Right now, as you're watching this video, you're being influenced. Your brain is making decisions based on psychological triggers that were programmed into your mind millions of years ago. You think you're in control, but you're not. You think your choices are rational, but they're not. You think you can spot manipulation when it happens, but here's the terrifying truth. The most powerful forms of influence are completely invisible to you. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to prove this to you. Think about the last major purchase you made. Maybe it was a car, a phone, or even this online course you've been considering. Now, here's what really happened. You didn't buy that product because you needed it. You bought it because someone activated one of 6 psychological triggers in your brain, and you had no idea it was happening. These triggers are so powerful that they can make you say yes to things you don't want, buy things you don't need, and trust people you shouldn't trust. They can make you fall in love, start wars, or build empires. And the most disturbing part? You experience these triggers dozens of times every single day, and you're completely unconscious of their power over you. But what if I told you that in the next 2 hours, you could learn to see these invisible strings that puppet your decisions? What if you could not only protect yourself from manipulation, but also ethically use these same principles to improve your relationships, grow your business, and create positive change in the world? Welcome to your deep dive into influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini, one of the most important books ever written about human behavior. This isn't just a book review. This is your initiation into the hidden world of psychological influence. Dr. Cialdini spent decades studying the psychology of compliance, going undercover in sales organizations, advertising agencies, and fundraising operations. What he discovered was shocking. There are exactly 6 psychological principles that drive human behavior. And once you understand them, you'll never see the world the same way again. This book isn't just theory. It's a survival guide for the modern world. Every day, marketers, politicians, salespeople, and manipulators use these principles against you. But today, you're going to flip the script. You're going to understand the game so well that you'll never be played again. By the end of this masterclass, you'll possess what I call influence intelligence, the ability to recognize these psychological triggers instantly, protect yourself from manipulation, and use these principles ethically to create win-win outcomes in every area of your life. In the next 2 hours, we are not just going to read a book. We're going to deconstruct the very operating system running your life and install a new one. Let's begin the upgrade. We're going to journey through 7 critical stages of influence mastery. First, we'll explore the weapons of influence, the fundamental psychology that makes all persuasion possible. Then we'll master reciprocation, why humans are hardwired to repay debts and how this drives most of our social behavior. Next, we'll uncover commitment and consistency, the psychological need that keeps you trapped in your own decisions. For better or worse, we'll decode social proof, why you look to others to determine what's right, and how this can lead you astray. We'll examine liking, the simple but profound truth that you say yes to people you like, and how others exploit this. We'll analyze authority, why you obey figures of power even when they're wrong, and how to distinguish real expertise from fake credentials. Finally, we'll master scarcity, why the fear of missing out controls more of your decisions than you realize. Each principle we explore isn't just information, it's ammunition. By the end, you'll have a complete arsenal of influence tools and the wisdom to use them responsibly. Let's go on this journey, one chapter at a time. Chapter 1. Weapons of Influence. Here's a question that might disturb you. What if most of your decisions aren't really yours? Think about this. You have about 35,000 decisions to make every single day. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, what to buy, who to trust, what to believe. If you had to consciously analyze every single choice, your brain would literally shut down from overload. So evolution gave you a shortcut system. Dr. Cialdini calls these click, or responses, automatic behavioral patterns that activate when certain triggers are present. Just like a turkey mother will nurture anything that makes the right cheep sound. Even a stuffed polecat, you respond automatically to specific psychological cues. Here's the core insight that changes everything. These automatic responses, which Cialdini calls the 6 weapons of influence, aren't bugs in your psychological software. They're features. They helped your ancestors survive in small tribes where quick decisions meant the difference between life and death. But here's the problem. We no longer live in small tribes. We live in a complex world where sophisticated operators understand your psychological triggers better than you do. They know exactly which buttons to push to make you comply, and they're pushing those buttons every single day. The jewelry store owner who couldn't sell turquoise jewelry until she accidentally doubled the price and sold out overnight. The restaurant that increased sales by 30% simply by adding an expensive item to the menu that nobody bought. The charity that tripled donations by including a tiny gift in their fundraising letters. These aren't coincidences. These are the weapons of influence in action. But once you understand these weapons, something remarkable happens. You start seeing the matrix. You notice when someone is using reciprocity to manipulate you. You recognize when scarcity is artificial. You spot fake authority from a mile away. Here's your first activation step. For the next 24 hours, become a psychological detective. Every time someone tries to sell you something, influence your opinion, or get you to comply with a request, ask yourself, which weapon of influence are they using right now? You're about to discover that these weapons are everywhere, and that awareness is your first line of defense. Chapter 2. Reciprocation. The old give and take. And take. Why did you feel obligated to buy, girl? Scout cookies from your coworker's daughter, even though you're on a diet? The answer lies in one of the most powerful psychological forces governing human behavior, the rule of reciprocation. This rule states that you should try to repay in kind what another person has provided you. It's so fundamental to human society that every culture on Earth has a version of it. But here's what makes reciprocity so dangerous. It doesn't require you to ask for the initial favor. Someone can give you something you didn't want, don't need, and actively tried to refuse, and you'll still feel obligated to reciprocate. The Hare Krishna Society discovered this in airports during the 1970s. They would approach travelers and force flowers into their hands, refusing to take them back. Even though people didn't want the flowers and often threw them away immediately after, donations skyrocketed. The simple act of giving created an almost irresistible urge to give back. This is reciprocity weaponized. It's happening to you constantly. Free samples at the grocery store aren't about letting you taste the product. They're about creating a debt. A dinner invitation from a business associate isn't just hospitality. It's an investment in future compliance. The small concession your negotiation partner makes isn't compromise. It's setting up a bigger ask. But reciprocity has an evil twin. Reciprocal concessions. This is when someone makes a large request that you refuse, then immediately follows with a smaller request that seems reasonable by comparison. You feel like they're being flexible, so you reciprocate their concession with compliance. Real estate agents do this constantly. They show you an overpriced house first, then take you to their real target property. Suddenly, the second house seems like a reasonable deal. Car salespeople load their initial offer with expensive add-ons, then work with you by removing some of them. You feel like you're getting a deal, but you're actually paying exactly what they intended. The most insidious part. The reciprocity rule can trigger a sense of obligation, even when the initial favor was uninvited, unwanted, and insignificant compared to the return favor being requested. Here's how to defend yourself. First, recognize genuine gifts versus compliance tactics. A genuine gift has no strings attached and doesn't come with immediate requests for reciprocation. A compliance tactic does. Second, reframe the interaction. Someone gives you something as a compliance tactic. You don't owe them reciprocation. You can simply accept their sales attempt without feeling obligated to buy. Your activation step. Think about a recent situation where you said yes to something you didn't really want to do. Can you identify the reciprocity trigger that influenced your decision? Now you'll start noticing this pattern everywhere. But reciprocity isn't just about defense. Understanding this principle gives you incredible power to build genuine relationships and create positive influence. Chapter 3. Commitment and Consistency. Hobgoblins of the Mind. What's the one thing that traps more people in bad decisions than anything else? It's not stupidity. It's not lack of information. It's your psychological need to appear consistent with your previous commitments. Once you take a stand, your brain will go to extraordinary lengths to justify that position, even when all evidence points to the fact that you're wrong. This is the commitment and consistency principle, and it might be the most dangerous weapon of influence because it turns your own psychology against you. Here's how it works. Humans have a deep desire to be and appear consistent. Inconsistency is generally seen as a negative trait associated with confusion, indecision, and mental weakness. So once we make a choice or take a stand, we feel pressure to behave consistently with that commitment. But here's where it gets sinister. This pressure to remain consistent can cause you to act in ways that are clearly contrary to your own best interests. The classic example is the Stanford prison experiment, but you see this every day in smaller ways. Why do people stay in jobs they hate? Consistency with their career choice. Why do they remain in toxic relationships? Consistency with their commitment. Why do they continue investing in failing ventures? Consistency with their initial belief. Salespeople weaponize this by getting you to make small commitments first. The car salesman, who gets you to agree that safety is important to you. The financial advisor, who gets you to admit you want to retire comfortably. The marketer, who gets you to sign up for a free report. Each small yes makes the bigger yes feel more consistent. The foot in the door technique is pure consistency manipulation. Start with a small, reasonable request that almost anyone would agree to. Once they comply, they see themselves as the type of person who helps with this cause. Then you can make larger requests that align with this new self-image. But the most powerful consistency trigger is written commitment. When you write something down, especially if it's public, your commitment level skyrockets. Why do you think testimonials are so effective? It's not just social proof. It's the fact that the person who wrote the testimonial is now committed to that position and will likely defend it. Online marketers understand this perfectly. They don't just want you to buy their product. They want you to write a review, share it on social media, tell your friends about it. Each action deepens your commitment and makes you more likely to defend your purchase decision, even if the product doesn't deliver. The Chinese communists used this during the Korean War with devastating effectiveness. They would get American POWs to write essays about problems in America or positive aspects of communism. Small, seemingly harmless essays. But once written, these soldiers began to see themselves differently and became more susceptible to further influence. Your brain's need for consistency is so strong that you'll often change your beliefs to match your actions. Rather than change your actions to match your beliefs, here's your defense. First, recognize when someone is trying to extract small commitments from you. Ask yourself, why do they want me to agree to this seemingly minor point? Second, give yourself permission to change your mind when new information becomes available. Consistency is valuable, but not when it prevents you from making better decisions. Third, be extremely careful about what you commit to in writing or in public. These commitments have extraordinary power over your future behavior. Your activation step. Identify one area of your life where you might be staying consistent with an old decision that no longer serves you. What would you do differently if you were making that choice today with what you know now? The goal isn't to become inconsistent. It's to become consciously consistent with your true values, rather than unconsciously consistent with past decisions that may no longer be relevant. Chapter 4. Social Proof. Truths are us. Why did 38 people watch Kitty Genovese get murdered and do nothing to help? The answer reveals one of the most powerful and dangerous forces shaping human behavior: social proof. We determine what's correct by finding out what other people think is correct. When we're uncertain about how to act, we look to the actions of others to guide our behavior. This made perfect sense in our evolutionary past. If everyone in your tribe was running in the same direction, you'd better run too, even if you didn't know why. Those who followed the crowd survived. Those who didn't often became dinner for predators. But in our modern world, social proof can lead us astray in devastating ways. The bystander effect that killed Kitty Genovese happens because each witness looks to the others for guidance. When they see that no one else is helping, they conclude that help isn't needed or isn't their responsibility. The very presence of other people creates inaction when everyone is following everyone else's lead. But social proof isn't just dangerous in emergencies. It's being weaponized against you every single day. Why do you think restaurants seed their tip jars with money at the beginning of the shift? It's not about having change. It's about showing that other people tip. Why do hotels tell you that 75% of guests reuse their towels? It's not about environmental facts. It's about showing you what the majority does. Salespeople use social proof constantly. This is our most popular model. We've got 3 other customers looking at this same property. This course has over 10,000 satisfied students. Each statement is designed to make you think. If all these other people are doing it, it must be right. But here's where social proof becomes truly dangerous. It's most powerful when the proof comes from people similar to you. You're not influenced by what everyone does. You're influenced by what people like you do. This is why testimonials work so well when they're from people who share your demographics, profession, or challenges. It's why suicide rates spike after publicized suicides, but only among people similar to the victim. It's why fundraising campaigns show you how much people from your zip code have donated. The suicide effect is particularly disturbing. After Marilyn Monroe's death, suicide rates jumped 12% above normal for the following month. After an airplane crash gets heavy media coverage, private plane crashes increase significantly. We don't just follow positive social proof. We follow negative social proof too. Advertisers understand this at a sophisticated level. They don't just show you that their product is popular. They show you that it's popular with people in your specific demographic. The mom in the commercial looks like you. The businessman in the ad shares your concerns. The testimonial comes from someone with your exact problem. But social proof can be manufactured. Fake reviews, bought followers, staged crowds, hired applause, manipulated statistics. In our digital age, it's easier than ever to create the illusion of social proof without the reality. Here's how to protect yourself. First, be suspicious of social proof that seems too convenient or too perfect. Real social proof has variance and includes some negative feedback. Second, dig deeper into the numbers. Our best-selling product might just mean it's the only product they sell. Thousands of satisfied customers might be spread over 20 years. Third, consider the source. Who's providing this social proof, and what do they gain from your compliance? But most importantly, remember that social proof works both ways. When you're in a leadership position, others are looking to you for guidance. Your actions become social proof for others, your activation step. Pay attention to how social proof influences your decisions today. Notice when you choose restaurants with lines, buy products with good reviews, or avoid stores that seem empty. Then ask yourself, is this social proof genuine and relevant to my situation? The goal isn't to ignore social proof entirely. It can provide valuable information. The goal is to evaluate it consciously, rather than follow it blindly. Chapter 5, Liking the Friendly Thief. Why do beautiful people make more money, get shorter prison sentences, and receive more help from strangers? The answer is both simple and disturbing. We say yes to people we like. And we like people who are physically attractive, similar to us, and who compliment us. This is the liking principle, and it might be the most underestimated weapon of influence. Think this doesn't apply to you because you're too rational? Think again. Even judges who are trained to be objective give more lenient sentences to attractive defendants. Even teachers who should focus on performance give better grades to attractive students. The power of liking runs so deep that it operates below conscious awareness. You don't decide to like someone and then become more compliant. The liking happens automatically, and the compliance follows without you realizing the connection. This is why Tupperware parties were so devastatingly effective. They took the sales process out of the store and put it in your friend's living room. Suddenly you weren't just buying plastic containers. You were supporting your friend, enjoying social connection, and reciprocating hospitality. Sales skyrocketed, not because the product got better, but because the social dynamics changed everything. Professional influencers understand this at a molecular level. They know that liking can be manufactured through 5 key channels. Physical attractiveness creates an automatic halo effect. Attractive people are perceived as more talented, kind, honest, and intelligent. This bias is so strong that attractive political candidates receive 2.5 times more votes than unattractive ones. But you don't have to win the genetic lottery to benefit from attractiveness. Grooming dress, posture, and genuine smiles can dramatically increase your likability. The goal isn't to become a supermodel. It's to present the best version of yourself. Similarity creates instant connection. We like people who are similar to us in opinions, personality, background, or lifestyle. Car salespeople are trained to spend the first part of their interaction finding common ground. Oh, you're from Ohio. I grew up there too. These similarities might be completely irrelevant to the purchase decision, but they create liking, which drives compliance. Compliments work even when they're clearly false. In one study, people who received obviously untrue praise liked the flatterer more and were more willing to buy from them. Your brain wants to believe positive things about yourself so badly that it will override logical skepticism. Contact and cooperation break down barriers through shared experiences. This is why corporate retreats, team-building exercises, and group projects are so effective at creating bonds. Shared struggle creates shared identity. Conditioning and association work through simple proximity. You tend to like people associated with positive experiences and dislike people associated with negative ones. This is why companies hire attractive models to stand next to their cars at auto shows. The positive feelings transfer to the product. But liking becomes truly dangerous when it's weaponized by skilled manipulators. They'll mirror your body language, find superficial similarities, shower you with calculated compliments, and create artificial bonding experiences. Before you know it, you're saying yes to someone you've known for 30 minutes because they feel like an old friend. The most insidious part. This doesn't just happen in sales situations. It happens in relationships, at work, in politics, and in social settings. People use liking to get promotions they don't deserve, votes for policies that harm you, and compliance with requests that serve their interests, not yours. Here's your defense. First, separate the person from the proposition. Ask yourself, would I agree to this request if it came from someone I disliked? If the answer is no, you're being influenced by liking rather than logic. Second, be aware of artificial liking tactics. When someone seems to be trying too hard to establish similarity or shower you with compliments, step back and evaluate their motives. Third, remember that liking someone doesn't mean their ideas are correct or their requests are reasonable. But don't become cynical. Genuine liking is one of the most beautiful aspects of human experience. The key is distinguishing between authentic connection and manufactured influence. Your activation step. Think about a recent decision where you said yes to someone you liked. Now evaluate that decision purely on its merits. Was it a good decision independent of your feelings about the person? This exercise will help you separate relationship dynamics from logical evaluation. The goal isn't to stop liking people, it's to make decisions based on merit, while still enjoying the benefits of positive relationships. Chapter 6. Authority. Directed deference. Why did ordinary people in Stanley Milgram's experiment deliver what they believed were lethal electric shocks to innocent victims? The answer reveals a chilling truth about human psychology. We have a deep-seated tendency to obey authority figures, even when their commands conflict with our moral values. This is the authority principle. It's one of the most dangerous weapons of influence, because it can override your conscience. In Milgram's famous experiment, 65% of participants delivered the maximum shock level, 450 volts, to another person simply because a man in a lab coat told them to continue. These weren't psychopaths. They were ordinary people whose natural tendency to defer to authority overwhelmed their empathy and moral reasoning. This tendency exists because authority relationships helped our ancestors survive. Following the leader of the tribe was usually safer than making independent decisions with incomplete information. Those who respected authority lived longer and had more offspring. But in our complex modern world, authority can be faked, irrelevant, or corrupt. Yet your brain still responds to authority symbols with automatic compliance. There are three main symbols of authority that trigger automatic deference: titles, clothes, and trappings. Titles carry enormous weight even when they're meaningless or irrelevant to the situation. Adding doctor to someone's name makes them instantly more credible, even if their doctorate is in an unrelated field. Real estate agents know that calling themselves consultants or advisors increases their persuasive power. But titles can be bought, faked, or earned in completely unrelated fields. The doctor, selling you nutritional supplements, might have a PhD in medieval literature. The professor endorsing a financial product might teach art history at a community college. Clothes create instant authority impressions. A police uniform, doctor's coat, or expensive suit all trigger deference responses. In one study, people were 3 times more likely to follow a man across the street against a red light, when he wore a suit versus casual clothes. This uniform effect is so powerful that con artists have used it for centuries. Fake police officers, phony doctors, and counterfeit officials gain compliance simply by looking the part. Your brain processes the visual cues faster than your logic can evaluate their legitimacy. Trappings include luxury cars, prestigious offices, expensive accessories, and other status symbols. These create a halo effect that makes people assume competence and authority in other areas. The financial advisor with the Rolex and BMW might be terrible with money, but the status symbols suggest otherwise. The most dangerous aspect of authority influence is that it short-circuits critical thinking. When someone appears to be an authority, you're more likely to accept their statements without verification. Follow their recommendations without question, and comply with their requests without considering alternatives. This happens in medical settings where patients don't question obvious errors because they assume doctors are infallible. It happens in financial services where people trust advisors simply because they work for prestigious firms. It happens in politics where voters support policies they don't understand because respected figures endorse them. But false authority is everywhere. The expert quoted in the news might have no real expertise. The authority endorsing a product might be paid to do so. The leader making demands might have no legitimate power over you. Here's your defense. First, separate the symbols from the substance. Ask yourself, what actual expertise does this person have in this specific area? A Nobel Prize in physics doesn't make someone an authority on economics. Second, verify credentials. In our digital age, it takes 30 seconds to check if someone's claimed expertise is real and relevant. Third, remember that even legitimate authorities can be wrong, biased, or acting in their own interests rather than yours. Fourth, distinguish between authority and authoritarianism. True authority comes from knowledge and expertise. Authoritarianism relies on power and intimidation. Your activation step. Think about an area of your life where you regularly defer to authority figures. Are you following their guidance because of their actual expertise or because of authority symbols? Consider seeking second opinions from other qualified experts. The goal isn't to reject all authority. Expertise is valuable and necessary. The goal is to evaluate authority consciously and ensure it's legitimate, relevant, and acting in your best interests. When you understand the authority principle, you can spot fake experts, resist inappropriate influence, and make better decisions based on actual competence rather than impressive credentials. Chapter 7. Scarcity. The rule of the few. Why do people camp outside stores for limited edition products they could easily buy online later at regular price? The answer lies in one of the most primitive and powerful psychological forces: scarcity. When something becomes less available, it becomes more valuable in our minds. This scarcity principle drives more irrational behavior than almost any other psychological trigger. Your brain is hardwired to believe that if something is scarce, it must be good. This made sense in our evolutionary past, when scarcity usually meant something was valuable or desirable to others. If berries were running out, you needed to get some quickly. If a good hunting spot was being claimed by others, you needed to act fast. But in our modern world, scarcity is often artificial, manufactured specifically to trigger your psychological impulses. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends at midnight. Limited time offer. Exclusive invitation. Members only. Each phrase is designed to activate your scarcity response and override rational decision-making. The power of scarcity operates through 2 psychological principles: loss, aversion, and reactance. Loss aversion means you feel the pain of losing something more intensely than the pleasure of gaining the same thing. When availability is limited, your brain frames the situation as a potential loss rather than a potential gain. You're not just buying a product, you're avoiding the loss of an opportunity. Reactance kicks in when your freedom to choose is threatened. Tell someone they can't have something and suddenly they want it more. This is why teenagers rebel against parental restrictions and why banned books often become bestsellers. The combination is devastating to rational thinking. When something is scarce, you don't just want it more. You assume it's better quality, more desirable, and more valuable than abundant alternatives. Real estate agents weaponize this constantly. We have another couple looking at this property tomorrow. The seller has rejected 3 offers already. This is the last house in your price range in this neighborhood. Each statement creates artificial urgency designed to push you toward immediate action. Retailers use scarcity to drive sales spikes. Flash sales, limited quantities, today only. These aren't usually based on actual supply constraints. They're psychological manipulation designed to bypass your careful consideration process. But scarcity manipulation gets even more sophisticated. Time-limited scarcity creates urgency. This offer expires in 24 hours. Number-limited scarcity creates exclusivity. It's only 100 units available. Access-limited scarcity creates status. Invitation-only or members exclusive. The most insidious form is artificial scarcity in digital products. Information, online courses, and digital downloads have no natural scarcity. They can be copied infinitely at 0 cost. Yet marketers create fake limitations. Only 1,000 people will see this video. This digital course closes forever on Friday. Limited enrollment period. Your brain can't distinguish between real and artificial scarcity. It responds the same way to genuine shortages and manufactured limitations. But scarcity isn't just about products. It's about opportunities, relationships, and experiences. This job opening won't be available long. She's seeing other people. This networking event only happens once a year. Here's your defense. First, pause and breathe when you feel scarcity pressure. Ask yourself, why am I suddenly feeling urgent about this decision? Second, verify the scarcity. Is this actually limited, or is it artificial pressure? How do you know the limitation is real? Third, evaluate the opportunity independent of its availability. Would you want this if it were widely available? If the answer is no, scarcity shouldn't change your mind. Fourth, remember that there are always alternatives. Scarcity mindset tricks you into thinking this is your only option, but it rarely is. Fifth, consider the cost of hasty decisions. The pain of missing out on one opportunity is usually much less than the pain of making a bad decision under pressure. Your activation step. Think about a recent purchase or decision you made under time pressure or limited availability. Is the scarcity real or manufactured? How would you have decided differently with unlimited time? The goal isn't to ignore genuine scarcity. Sometimes things really are limited and valuable. The goal is to distinguish between authentic scarcity and artificial manipulation, and to make decisions based on actual value rather than availability anxiety. When you master the scarcity principle, you'll stop making impulse decisions based on fear of missing out and start making thoughtful choices based on genuine value and fit with your goals. Epilogue. Instant influence. Primitive consent for an automatic age. Now you see the matrix. Every day, you're surrounded by people who understand these psychological principles and use them to influence your behavior. Marketers who craft campaigns using social proof and scarcity, politicians who build authority and exploit liking, salespeople who create reciprocity and demand consistency, manipulators who weaponize these ancient psychological triggers against your modern rational mind. But something remarkable has happened over the past 2 hours. You've developed what I call influence intelligence, the ability to recognize these psychological patterns as they happen and make conscious choices about how to respond. This isn't just about protecting yourself from manipulation, though that's critically important. This is about understanding the fundamental operating system of human behavior. These 6 principles: reciprocity, commitment, and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity, aren't just marketing tactics. They're the invisible forces that shape relationships, careers, families, and societies. When you understand these principles, you gain something precious: conscious choice. Instead of being pushed around by psychological triggers you don't recognize, you can evaluate influence attempts on their merits. Instead of making automatic responses, you can make intentional decisions. But with this knowledge comes responsibility. You now possess tools that can profoundly influence others. You could use reciprocity to manipulate people into compliance. You could manufacture false authority to gain undeserved trust. You could create artificial scarcity to pressure people into bad decisions. Don't. The ethical application of these principles is about creating win-win outcomes. It's about building genuine relationships, communicating more effectively, and helping others make decisions that serve their best interests. It's about using influence to create positive change, not to exploit human psychology for selfish gain. Remember, these principles work because they usually serve us well. Reciprocity builds social cooperation. Consistency helps us maintain identity and follow through on commitments. Social proof provides valuable information about appropriate behavior. Liking creates bonds that make life meaningful. Authority helps us benefit from expertise. Scarcity helps us recognize genuine value. The problem isn't that these psychological triggers exist. The problem is when they're manipulated against our interests or when we follow them unconsciously in situations where they don't apply. Your new superpower is conscious choice. When someone tries to influence you, you can now ask, which principle are they using? Is this influence ethical and in my best interest? Am I responding automatically or making a thoughtful decision? But don't become paranoid or cynical. The goal isn't to resist all influence. That would make you isolated and ineffective. The goal is to recognize influence attempts and evaluate them consciously. Here's your final challenge. Use these principles to become a more positive influence in the world. Build genuine reciprocity through authentic generosity. Create real consistency by aligning your actions with your values. Provide honest social proof by sharing authentic experiences. Develop authentic liking through genuine interest in others. Earn legitimate authority through actual expertise and competence. Recognize genuine scarcity while avoiding manufactured urgency. The world needs more people who understand influence and use it ethically. It needs leaders who can create positive change, parents who can guide children wisely, friends who can help each other make better decisions, and professionals who can serve their clients' genuine interests. You now have the knowledge. The question is, what will you do with it? Your influence journey starts now. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice what you've learned. Every decision is a chance to choose conscious response over automatic reaction. Every relationship is a laboratory for ethical influence. Remember, the most powerful form of influence isn't manipulation, it's inspiration. When you use these principles to help others get what they truly want, to make decisions that serve their best interests, and to become better versions of themselves, you're not just influencing behavior, you're changing lives. The psychology of persuasion isn't about control, it's about connection. It's about understanding the beautiful, complex, sometimes irrational ways that human minds work, and using that understanding to create more understanding, more cooperation, and more positive outcomes for everyone. You are now armed with this knowledge. Use it wisely, use it ethically, use it to make the world a little bit better, one influence interaction at a time. The invisible strings that once controlled your behavior are now visible. You can see them, evaluate them, and choose your response. It's not just influence intelligence, that's human freedom. Welcome to your new level of conscious living. The world is waiting to see what you'll do with these insights. If this journey has opened your eyes to the psychology behind your daily decisions, hit that like button. It's a small commitment that helps others discover these insights too. Share your biggest revelation in the comments below. What principles surprised you most? And subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology that shapes our world. Your conscious influence journey starts now.